Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape supernatural purgatory.
Hello.
Heyo.
Or should we say...
Yeehaw!
Howdy, partner.
Or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, you know. Cowboys. I helped.
Cowboys. Ha ha. He's a Texas Ranger.
That was pretty funny, to be fair. That was fun. That was amusing to me. Yeah. I like this episode. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was saying to Amy before we were recording that, like, the best part about this whole entire episode is just Dean's reaction throughout the whole thing. And you know, it was just Jensen bleeding through the entire episode and just being like, we're cowboys.
Yeah, just constantly messing around. The facial expressions. It was ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
They both were having a lot of fun in this, and I thought it was good because all the other actors seemed to like play it so straight.
Yeah.
And then this is the two of them like absolutely messing around the whole time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it. It was a long way to go for like not a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And so at the end of the episode, I was like, did they cause a paradox? But no, they didn't, because they were always going to do... It's very much like in the beginning where like he was always meant to go back in time to see these events happening. So whatever he does then is what he's supposed to do. So all of this is supposed to happen as it is. So it's not actually breaking like the timeline.
I think that's how time travel seems to work in Supernatural. And I'm not sure that they could actually affect the timeline, like even if they kind of wanted to. It only seems to be like supernatural beings that can, like Balthazar unsinking the Titanic, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not sure if they had gone back in time, they could have stopped the Titanic from sinking. Do you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Like things are always going to play out as they have. Yeah. Yeah. Which must really annoy Cass, because like that means that in this episode he was always supposed to like get betrayed or whatever, that he's still in the hands of fate.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Was he betrayed though? I thought he was lying.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I thought it was just
he was such a good liar, he convinced me. No, you're right, he didn't get betrayed. He was just, you know, being questioned.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So this week we're talking about season 6, episode 18, Frontierland. Mm-hmm. And of course, I should have guessed it was written by Andrew Dabb and Daniel Laughlin, just because there was a saloon girl joke, and I was just like, yes, of course.
You're right.
And it was, yeah, and it was directed by Guy Norman B.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I really like that name. Guy Norman B. He's a normal guy named B. Sorry. Just rearranging his name, sorry. And yeah, I thought, like, obviously the whole episode is basically sepia toned, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Apart from when they're in, like, real world. And it was nice to see Bobby and Cass together. Because you don't see that very often. And like, out of everybody, I think Bobby respects Cass the most.
Oh yeah, I agree actually. They have a really nice relationship.
Mm-hmm. Like, he's completely trusting of him. Like, he doesn't question any, like, the request that Cass makes of him is so huge, especially since, like, you know, he already lost his soul once. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or it was on loan. I don't know. They never really cleared that up because he doesn't act like Sam when he doesn't have a soul because Crowley has it. Mm-hmm. Anyway. But yeah, he's just like, sure. Yeah. You can potentially explode me. That sounds weird. I'm sorry.
They made the whole thing a bit weird. It's like he adopted Cass as like his son-in-law, but like he's the most responsible one of the three, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess maybe he's the only one who's actually listening to Cass, of being like, I'm commanding an army. So it's just like, oh, yeah, he actually does like hold great responsibility, power, whatever. So
I guess age-wise, I was going to say they're similar. They're not, but like they do both have like respected elder vibes. Like, you should be listening to me. And also Bobby knows what it's like to not be listened to by Sam and Dean.
Yes, you're right. Yep. Yeah, the shenanigans that they get into and having Bobby or Cass call them to get them out of it. Yeah. Yep.
You know they like drink together and complain about them.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
You won't believe what they called for me to do today. And Bobby's like, oh no, don't worry, they called me first.
Yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have too much to say about like the overall vibes of this episode. It was fine. Like it was there.
It was just a whole like whatever 45 minutes of like Dean dressed in little outfits and having a blast.
Yeah.
And Sam sort of like putting up with him doing that and actually trying to take the situation seriously. That was pretty much the whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess like never meet your heroes, because like Samuel Colt's just a drunk in the wilderness.
Like the thing is, I feel like of any time period to travel back to, I feel like the 1800s are like rough, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of rough. I don't really feel
especially in America.
Yeah. I don't want to live through the Industrial Revolution. Thanks. Feels gross. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I would like to go back in time to maybe like Vikings. Although, you know, they're not like from the TV show Vikings. It tends to be a bit more like chill.
Mm-hmm.
The outfits were much nicer actually for women. Here's a random fact about me. I own a period accurate Viking woman outfit.
Nice.
It consists of like a white shift with like a green kind of tabard over the top that ties at the sides, and then you would have worn like amber jewelry with it. And that's pretty much it.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then you could wear furs and stuff if you were cold, but like it's already pretty warm because it's kind of heavy duty linen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what time I would go back to. I mean, I wouldn't mind having a peek at the Romans, see what they're up to. I mean, it's probably gross. And like, but, you know, see their like architecture in full glam would be kind of cool.
That would be cool. Or like the Greeks and stuff, like all their temples and things. Yeah, I kind of would like that to be fair. Yeah, that would be cool.
But I want to be like invisible. Like they couldn't see me, so I could just like observe.
So you want to go back as a god, is what you're saying? You know?
Yeah.
Mess with them.
Didn't you know they modeled Athena after me? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, who knows they didn't?
Right? I don't know what the future holds.
You still got time to time travel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So do you want to get into this episode?
Yes. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So we have the recap, and boy, what a recap. Like, we went way back in the archives for this one. We went all the way back to season 2.
I know they got to like remind us what the cult is, but like also do they have to? Like, and the whole like devil's trap thing. And then they only like mention it in passing in the whole episode.
Yeah. I know. And then we get the first time that Dean time travels. Mm-hmm. We're now sort of more blending the two plot lines together, because we got stuff about Eve coming out from purgatory, and like at the end of episode 12 of season 16, mm-hmm. where Eve rises from purgatory. They also have some of and then there were none.
Yeah.
Where the like worm was possessing Bobby and saying that like, you know, you're all gonna die. She has a message for you.
I'm just a worm.
And then the teaser is like super, super short. It's just, okay, that was one thing about this episode. It felt incredibly short. And I don't know why.
You're
like,
right, yeah.
Maybe it's just because it was like boom, 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 boom. Like there was no sort of downtime. It's all in this, like I said, the sepia tone, and then it shows Sunrise, Wyoming, March 5th, 1861. And we see these two cowboys show up, and they go into their standoff positions, and it shows one person's face. You don't know who it is. Then you see, like, it's a very typical cowboy shot of, like, the top of the cowboy hat, and he raises his head, and it's Dean. You're like, whoa, what is this? And then the clock strikes noon, and they do their shootout, and then it cuts to the map that we saw in All Hell Breaks Loose of Wyoming, but it's burning, and then Supernatural in like Western font, I say Western as in like quotation, is also burning, and it like comes through the hole that's in this map, and then you hear like a shot and the glass break, and it's the title card.
It's very cool actually. I forgot they did a special
it's
title
very dramatic
card. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Like, I don't know why. I guess I do know why for this episode, because it is a Western, but like, there was nothing special about this episode that really. I mean, I can't really say that because they time travel, but like they've done it 4 times now. I know we don't see it in My Heart Will Go On, but like it's said that they time. So I don't know. I'm just like, why this one?
But they've done this a couple of times this season, right? Because there was also the X-Files one as well. They did.
Yeah,
I think they're just like having a bit of fun with it, to be honest.
I guess so.
Yeah. And there was another one as well. I can't remember. Maybe it was like a previous season. But yeah, like when did they do? It was previous season where they do the like black and white monster movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was right. It's all blurring into one already. Yeah. So we see this place, and it's in the daytime, so I didn't recognize where it was because we've only ever seen this place at night. So I was like, where are they? Yeah. Where are they? But they're at the place where all the Campbells hang out. And at the bottom of the screen, it says 48 hours earlier and 150 years later, which I thought was kind of cool. I don't know why. I kind of like when they do time travel stuff like that, where I don't know, it's silly. So Sam's insisting that like he knows where something is, and in the compound, and he finds this like secret trapdoor, and they all go down. He says, "Welcome to the Campbell Family Library." This is basically like a precursor of the bunker, you know?
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like.
And we had actually said something about like, why did they never go after his stuff?
Yeah.
And here they are going after their stuff. And I guess because it was hidden the whole time. I kind of hoped that there would be like Bobby just being like, let's gather everything up.
Yeah.
Like, I guess the whole, now that Samuel Campbell's dead, the whole thing just sort of disbanded. Mm-hmm. The whole group disbanded, or they're all dead. I don't know.
I think they're supposed to be all dead, but like, yeah, where's Bobby with his like van? Like, I'm taking these books. These are my books now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's now the official head of the family. He gets the books.
Mm-hmm. He does.
I mean, this looks like it's been in operation for like decades because of all the stuff they've got on the walls.
True.
So yeah, it's kind of wild that it is. So I wonder how long they've been storing stuff down there. So they're looking for something. In Bobby's words,
well, anything that'll put a run in the Octomom's stockings.
So they're trying to find something that's gonna kill Eve. There's like a little montage of them doing some research. Eventually, Bobby comes up with this like passage that says that the ashes of the... he asked if they've heard of a phoenix. And Dean says...
River, Joaquin, or the giant flaming bird.
It says here that the ashes of a phoenix can burn the mother.
So they're assuming that the mother that they're talking about is Eve. It's all this is based on like a pretty like small hunch that this passage is, one, referring to her, two, referring to a phoenix, you know, like an actual phoenix, and that phoenix exists because they've never even seen one. I don't know. Or that even when they die, they leave ashes. Like, who knows? Maybe they don't. You don't know this.
That's true. Just very true.
So they're going to try and find something out about phoenixes. They do another little montage. And, like, at some point, Dean, like, finds this book and he's looking real smug about it. He's, like, reading it and going, like, and then, like, looks at Sam like, this is juicy. It's so funny. So he eventually takes it to the table and he's like,
March 5th, 1861. Sunrise, Wyoming. Gun killed a phoenix today, left a pile of smoldering ash.
And when Sam's like, really? Whose gun? And Dean's like, Colt's. Like, again, he's so smug this whole time.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you know, like the Colt. And he holds the book. He's like, you know, Samuel Colt's journal. That's like, it's legit. Sam kind of goes like, gimme. And Dean's like, no, get your own. It was just real cute, like little sibling moment there. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And like they're geeking out over this journal. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I do find it funny, like, because I remembered this episode, but like not really the details of it. But it is interesting the way that the journal entry is written, because it just says gun killed a phoenix today. Not I killed or I hunted. It's just gun killed. And it's just like, oh.
Because it all happened how it happened, right? So,
yeah.
I don't know. I love this exchange. First of all, because it's stupid. And second of all, it doesn't make sense with the previous episode. Okay, we'll go through it. So Sam's like, oh, you know, I guess we got to find one of our own, meaning the Phoenix. And Dean says, or we could find one in March the 5th, 1861. We'll Star Trek 4 this bitch. All right, so Star Trek 4 is the film where they go back in time to save the whales because of space whales. Right. Have you seen that movie, Annabelle?
I have not seen that movie.
I feel like when I see you, we need to do a Star Trek binge. I feel it bubbling.
Okay, we could do that.
Because they go back in time, they save the whales. Because there are angry space whales that are like, you wiped out all the whales, we're going to kill you. Or so, I can't remember exactly. I haven't watched Star Trek 4 in ages. I can't remember the precise reason. I think maybe the whales are just sad. And then, so they go back in time and they save the whales. In the 80s, they saved the whales. And I feel like maybe they should have done it a bit later on, but it's okay. And then Bobby says, I only watched Deep Space Nine. And then Dean says, well, it's like I don't even know you guys anymore. You know, Star Trek 4 saved the whales. And they both shrug. Which is not true, because in the episode with the worm, Dean's like, oh, it's like a Khan worm. And they both agree with him. So they've at least seen Star Trek. Oh, which one is Star Trek 2? Wrath of Khan. Right. So, yeah. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the only one he's seen all the way through. I'm trying to defend Bobby here.
No, because Deep Space Nine is a TV series. And all the other ones are Star Trek films. Right. So, yeah. Only seen Deep Space Nine. I don't believe it, Bobby. I don't believe it.
Nope.
Nope.
I don't believe it.
I can believe Benjamin Sisko is probably his favourite captain. I feel like they would vibe. Listeners, which captain do you think is Bobby Singer's favourite from Star Trek? That's a niche moment.
Yeah, there's probably an overlap. There's an overlap of people who watch Star Trek and Supernatural.
Oh, 100%
for sure.
there is.
Otherwise, they wouldn't make all these references if there wasn't. Unfortunately, I am not one of them, so I cannot tell you.
How can you even call yourself a nerd? No, I'm joking. I'm not gatekeeping Star Trek from you. It's fine. We just have to watch some. The best thing about not having watched Star Trek is now you get to watch Star Trek.
That's very true. You're not wrong about that one.
You can watch the gayest episode of 1960s television, A Mock Time.
Hell yeah.
Oh, it's...
Let's do it.
Look, Spurk is the gateway drug to Destiel. That's all I'm saying. Is like, you'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it.
I know there are people now listening to this who's like, Amy's right. And I yes, you're my best friends. Anyway, so I'm gonna stop talking about Star Trek.
That's fine. That's fine with me.
So they decide they're gonna go back in time, hunt the Phoenix of Samuel Colt, get the ashes, come home. And Bobby's like, time travel? And Dean's like, yeah, it's easy. He just goes, I got a guy who can swing it. Like, showing off that he's friends with Cass, like they don't know him.
Yeah, right.
So he stands up and he prays, obviously expecting Cass to answer him immediately, because just how his demeanor, how he's giving it off, because he's like,
Castiel, the fate of the world is in the balance. So come on down here. Come on, Cass. I dream of Jeannie your ass down here pronto.
so rude. But just one time, I would have liked to have seen Cass do the I dream of Jeannie like nod. Just one time.
Yeah, I know. Just one time.
Yep. I did it. No one saw it except Annabelle. And then an angel, a blonde female angel appears, which, to be fair, with the I Dream of Jeannie reference works. I enjoyed this. Yep. It was good. Because Dean goes, Jeannie. So Rachel introduces herself as Rachel and says, how can I help you? And she's like really standoffish with them from the get-go. Yeah. Dean asks to talk to the big kahuna, and she says, I'm here on Castiel's behalf because he's busy.
Yeah.
She says, I'm sure your issue is very important, but Castiel is currently commanding an army. So Dean then says, we get stuck with Miss Moneypenny, making another reference that she's not going to get.
No.
So she tells them,
so you need to learn your place.
Look, I don't know who you think you are.
I'm his friend.
Which I appreciate, Rachel, because they kind of do use Cass. And I feel like she probably does feel like she's being a good friend in this moment because their relationship is not healthy.
No. Nope, not at all.
So she does kind of call that out and say, I think you call him when you need something. We're fighting a war. Because, like, Sam says, like, you think we're not his friends? And she's like, basically, no. And she goes, clearly you wouldn't call him every time you stub your toe, you petty, entitled little pie, which I love. Like, where is that going to go? Then Castiel interrupts her and says, that's enough. So he basically dismisses her and explains to them that she is his lieutenant and just says, like, she's committed to the cause. So, she's pretty loyal and protective of Castiel. I feel in the same way that Hannah is. This is Hannah, isn't it, later on?
Was it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they all presumably drive, I don't know, to Bobby's house. So did they
get to Bobby's house?
Yeah, did they call Cass there and then make him drive to Bobby's house? I'd be so pissed.
Oh, yeah, I'd be so annoyed. Like, they literally an angel just called you out for pulling this rubbish, and then you just go ahead and do exactly what she said accuses you of doing, wasting his time.
That car journey would have been so tense. It's like, could you not have called me at Bobby's house? Like, time is of the essence. They really don't respect his time at all. Just say it, like, they really don't. It's terrible. Nope. Get better friends, Cass. So, and then just to like rub it in, they called him. They made them drive to Bobby's house, and then Dean left to go shopping, and the whole time Cass is sitting there like, "What am I doing? Why am I here?
I have an army to command. Come on!"
Yeah. Oh my god, he's so mad.
I would. Yeah.
They will ask where Dean is. Sam says, I don't know, supply run. Cass explains to them, without Dean there, that they only have 24 hours. When Sam asks why, he says,
The answer to your question can best be expressed as a series of partial differential equations.
Which I really enjoyed. Bobby just says, aim lower. So rude. I feel like Sam,
the funny thing is, like he looks over at Sam like, for his sake, could you make it simplified for his sake?
Like,
and I'm like, of everybody in the room, I think it's probably Sam who would understand it the most. Not to say that Bobby wouldn't, but it would take him a bit longer.
yeah, I mean, none of them are mathematicians, to be fair, but like, also Bobby, he's not that dumb. Yeah. So he basically says, like, the further I send you back, the harder it becomes to retrieve you. So 24 hours is all I can risk. If I don't pull you home within that time, you'll be lost to me. To which Dean comes in and enters the conversation by just saying, well, better get you a watch. It's fine. He's got loads of bags of stuff and starts grabbing stuff out. It's all from a place called Wally's Western World, which is great. Sam's just like, no, I'm right. And he's wearing... This is the dumbest thing to me. Like, Sam's dressed like in his normal hunter gear. He actually doesn't, to be fair, look that out of place. So he says, like, I can wear what like this, and he like gestures to what he's wearing, and Dean says, and look like a spaceman. Sam rightly calls him out. He's like, just because you're obsessed with that Wild West. They have this whole back and forth, and he's like, no, I'm not. And Sam's like, you have a fetish. He's like, you can recite every Clint Eastwood movie ever made, line for line.
Even the monkey movies?
Yeah, especially the monkey movie.
I can see that.
And like, you know that Sam's had to sit in the car with Dean, like suddenly reciting movie lines. Or like, he watches a cowboy movie, then just starts making references from it in his everyday life, because I'm also like that. So I know what he's like.
I think we're all like that, to be honest.
Yeah. Like, Sam agrees to wear one of the shirts. He goes up, like, we cut to him walking downstairs in this white shirt with like, it's just a cowboy shirt, like, you know, with the things on the shoulders. It's a cowboy shirt. Dean's wearing, right, and this is a bit that got me. So Dean changed his shirt. He's wearing like a waistcoat as well underneath, which you find out later. And then he's wearing this blanket thing, which is called a serape. I've never heard that word. I don't know. It's a poncho.
Nope. It is a poncho.
He's wearing a cowboy hat. But then when they actually go back in time, we see that he's still wearing jeans.
Both of them are.
Both wearing jeans. I don't know when blue jeans were invented. I feel like it's earlier than we think it is. I'm going to Google it. Wait.
But it definitely wasn't at that time either. Like, I think they were still wearing like cotton.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No. Okay. All right. Let's do a guessing game. What year do you think blue jeans were invented? You can play along at home.
I'm gonna guess sometime in like the late 1800s, like 1890 something.
Do you know what? You're pretty close. It was 1873.
Okay, so they weren't far off from the, but they're 12 years early for jeans.
Yeah.
Maybe they influenced it.
Exactly.
You're like, where did you get those blue pants? Those blue pantaloons, whatever.
Pantaloons.
Pantaloons.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe the inventor of blue jeans happened to be in Sunrise, Wyoming, and then was like, they look stylish.
Yep.
And they're good for riding
I think
horses. So yeah, they look amazing. Dean looks so happy. I think that's why I enjoy this episode. Dean is so happy this whole episode. There's no real angst. Yeah. Not really.
Nope.
Like, he's just loving life, and we don't get to see that very often.
No. Though I'm a little sad that like a lot of his expectations kind of get shaded a little bit, but like at the same time, I think he really enjoyed the authenticity of it all.
Yeah. And like we said, the past is worse than you think it was. Don't romanticize it.
Yeah. No. The past is the worst.
It's the worst. So Bobby does ask if he's going to a hoedown, and Cass says, is it customary to wear a blanket? So Dean looks so offended. He's like, it's a serape, and it's, never mind, let's just go. So Bobby is loading like loads of gold into a bag for them because he says, where you're going, they don't take plastic.
Yeah.
I think it's a Back to the Future reference because it's like where you're going, they don't have roads. They just change the words.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the way he said it.
Be.
Yeah, I thought it was like very, very wrong. Cass says that he's going to send them back like the previous day, so March 4th, so they have time to find the cult and the Phoenix. And then says, okay, see you at, like Dean says, see you at high noon tomorrow, and does the like, is that the noise?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cass whammies them. And like Dean's really happy, which he's just like, yes, rubbing his hands. We quickly cut back to Bobby's house, and Cass like I'm out. Bye, Bobby. See you later. And he just says, pray for me in 24 hours, and I'll return. Bobby just says, I'll pray for all of us. And then he sets the timer then, and like, but it's been a few seconds. I thought it was just down to like the. Be precise, Bobby.
Yeah.
So back in time. Dean's very eager. Sam sets his timer on his watch for 24 hours, so he knows how long they've got. And like, Sam is less enthusiastic because Dean's like,
Hey, we should try the saloon first. See what we get from the locals.
Sure, whatever, Sundays.
Think we'll have time to hit on the saloon barrels? Kidding.
as they go to walk, like Sam steps in this massive pile of like horse poo. And he's like, oh, come on, like I'm taking one step. And Tita says, you know, it's authentic. Like carries on, like really happy. As they walk into town, someone's getting hung, which I feel like is probably, but it should have warned them that it wasn't going to be as sunshine and roses as they thought it was going to be.
Yep.
There's basically 3 people hanging this guy, although obviously the townspeople are watching. So there's the judge, his name is Judge Mortimer, there's the sheriff, and then there's like the sheriff's deputy as well, I think.
Yeah.
The person they are hanging is called Elias Finch, and they have accused him of killing his wife. So, and then like the judge is sentencing him, saying that he's going to get hung for that. And when the sheriff asks if he has anything to say, he's like, "You're all going to burn for this." So like immediately we all know he's the Phoenix, because why else would he use his word?
Yeah, exactly.
And of course the Phoenix is just a guy, because this is supernatural.
True.
Yeah.
This is very true.
So yeah, he gets hung. During all this, Dean and Sam are treating it like they're watching some kind of like stage show, because Sam says, "Wow, authentic." Which,
right.
to be fair, I think was a jab at like Dean's previous yeah. But it's pretty horrible.
It's, I mean, stepping in poop and watching a man hang are 2 very different things.
You would think that like if he was a Phoenix, he would just go right there, right? Once he died. I don't
know. I don't understand the law of the Phoenix. Because like, in my mind, like getting, maybe he acted dead, right? So his neck didn't actually snap. So like he was essentially buried alive, and then he came out of the grave.
That's true. Because he was saying about all the things that like couldn't kill him later on in the episode.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I just assumed that was because like they would kill him and then he'd just resurrect, you know, because he's the Phoenix.
Right, me too. But then like, don't they rise from their ashes? So like,
yeah,
he would have to be burned.
Yeah, it would have been too easy, first of all. But like, I understand why. But also, I think lore-wise, I feel like he should have just burst into flames right then and there. Anyway, whatever, it's fine. I'll say as well, I'm sure there are so many cowboy movie references in this episode, but I don't watch cowboy movies, so good luck. Good luck. So as they're standing there watching there as well, this like old man turns around and just says to Dean, "Nice blanket," and so he like takes it off. I feel really sad for him. Like, no, Dean, don't dull your shine for anybody else. They go to the jail to find the sheriff, and And they introduce themselves. Dean, obviously smug as well.
Marshall Eastwood. Clint Eastwood.
Ha ha ha.
And then Dean points to Sam and says,
This here's, Walker. He's a Texas Ranger.
and like he thinks that's so fun. And Sam's just like, oh my God. But it is funny. Like, that is funny.
It is really funny. It's funny in context now, but at the time, like whatever. But like now, it's just like
he is Walker, Texas Ranger.
yeah.
So they say they're looking for. Sam says we're looking for a man, and the judge just says, "I'll bet," and like gestures to Dean, and says nice shirt, implying something there.
That he's
Yeah.
gay.
Like, because they're dressed too nicely.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting.
Yep.
Interesting hate crime, maybe. No, I'm joking. But like, yeah, it's just like immediately clocks Dean as like, yes. Dean's like, what's wrong with my shirt? Like, why? Why are you doing this to me? I'm Clint Eastwood. And the judge just says,
I am the original cowboy.
he just says, you're very clean. And Dean's like, it's dirtier than it looks. I don't know why I enjoyed this exchange. It's so Andrew Dabb. I don't know, there's something about it. Like, it really is. I don't know how to, it's just, yeah. So they take Sam a bit more seriously, I think. Maybe because he's taller.
Maybe.
And he says, like, we need to find Samuel Colt. Do you know him? And they do. Like, they know that he's the gun maker, but, like, he hasn't been around town in ages. Like, he might try asking Elkins at the saloon. He's been here longer than God. Dean does, like, a hat tip, and they go to the saloon. In the saloon, it's like... Dean immediately says, like, this is not awesome. Despite it looking like any saloon from any cowboy movie, it just looks dirty.
I guess he was expecting more people, maybe, but it's just like, it's literally like a town of like 30 people.
Also, it's midday.
What did you expect?
Like, why?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, the only people in the saloon at like 12:30 in the afternoon are going to be people getting drunk. Sam kind of, to be fair to Sam, he's like, I know you're not having a great time and you were hoping that it was going to be a great time. Like, he gives him that kind of like encouraging look. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
You'll get your cowboy moment, don't worry about it.
Yeah. So Dean asked the bartender for his top shelf whiskey, and he says Sam would like a sarsaparilla. I don't know what a sarsaparilla is. Do you know?
I don't know. No, I have no clue.
They clock that he's Elkins and he asks if he knows Samuel Colt. He says that he passed through like 4 years ago. There's a rumor that he's building a railroad 20 miles out of town, just by the postal road in the middle of nowhere. And Sam's like, the Devil's Gate. He says it so loudly.
I know.
And he's like, yeah. And then like one of the saloon girls comes up to them because obviously she's going to be there because Dean was like clocking them as he walked in, and also talked about saloon girls before. And with the like, I guess the expectations at the time, she doesn't look like she's well.
Nope.
At all.
Nope. She has the herpes.
She definitely has herpes. What is it with herpes in this season?
I don't know.
There's been so many references to herpes. Is it like a crew in joke? Like, I don't understand. Like, what is the... There's a convention question. What is it with season 6 and herpes? If I ever get the chance, that's the question I'm asking. Just saying, like, why are there so many references to herpes in season 6? And just, I'm sure they have an answer. I'm sure. Yeah. So yes, this lady's called Darla, and she is coming on to Dean pretty strong, and he is not having it, which is fair. But then Judge Mortimer walks in and like summons her because he clearly has an appointment. And Dean's just like, is relieved. He tries his whiskey.
Oh, it's like gasoline.
Which I feel like if Dean thinks it's bad, it's bad.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Probably go blind bad, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the Sam's like, the sarsaparilla ain't half bad. Like, come on, Sam, give him something.
So I had a quick look at what sarsaparilla
Yes.
is, and it's just like it's like a soft drink. So it's like a kid's drink, basically.
Oh, I see. So he was like, mocking him, but the guy didn't really care either.
Yeah.
He should have ordered him some like Coca-Cola, you know, with like the actual cocaine in it. Like,
I don't think it was out yet.
I don't know. Is that not the 1800s?
I think it's later in the 1800s.
Oh,
though.
yeah, probably right. I don't know. I don't know my history of Coca-Cola.
I don't
It's
remember.
fine.
And also, it was started in Georgia, so I don't know how quickly it got over.
I think you'd also buy it in a pharmacy and not in a bar.
Yes, you
Yeah.
would.
So we cut to the judge and Darla, and they are about to engage in some adult activity when Darla sees something over his shoulder, and like she like pushes him away and like scrambles away. They hear her scream, so Sam and Dean like run upstairs, and they see Darla looking scared, and there's just like the burned corpse of this judge still in the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Yeah. I will say that I did enjoy how like the burning effect happened. Like the way like it starts where the hand is and sort of takes over the body, but doesn't like it like instant incinerates them. It's not flames. I thought that's kind of
That was kind of cool. I agree with you actually. It's quite interesting power. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then Sam, well, they've called the sheriff, and the sheriff is up in the room sort of doing an investigation. I mean, how much do they investigate in the 1800s? Probably not that much, as evidence in this episode. The sheriff looks kind of shaken, and Sam asks if he's okay, and Darla's like, it was a ghost, and the sheriff's like, no, it wasn't, like, unless ghosts can leave footprints, where we see these two like muddy prints, which is where I'm thinking that he was buried alive. And like, but then again, there's no pavements either, so it's just like you're walking in mud all the time. So
I don't know when he resurrected. Not sure. Well, we do see his caskets like flung open, don't we, later? So like sometime in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm. And then so Darla's like, I'm telling you, it was Finch. Like, he did it. He walked out that door. The sheriff's like, well, rope didn't kill him. I've seen it before. So that's never explained as to why they've seen that before, but okay.
I guess just like monsters are about, right? And
yeah, I guess so.
Because I'm assuming like human settlements are few and far between at this time, they tend to like, there's rumors, right, of like vampires or werewolves or whatever.
I thought that, because in the recap, Samuel Colt, I swear he founded this town.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Right? I thought that was the whole point. So like, I feel like it would be a town of hunters, right?
Maybe.
But it kind of is, because the sheriff is like, all right, we'll get a posse together and hunt down Finch. So obviously, like, he's not afraid of Finch, really.
No.
Even though he's seen that it hasn't killed him, like, they can't kill him, basically.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of feel like it's kind of lawless out there, so they all kind of have like some understanding that some things aren't human, you know? And
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like they're supposed to be more superstitious or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably true as well.
But I'm sure that Samuel Colt does actually like drive a lot of things to the area though, just for his presence, like the demons that we see later on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. So Dean is all on board with doing this plan, and the sheriff tells them that both of them should be part of the posse, and they'll meet at dawn.
Get yourself some real gear first, huh?
Well, I think we ought to pay our respects to Finch.
I was thinking the same thing.
So they go to the cemetery, and like you said, the casket is open. Dean says, rose from the ashes burned up its victims. And he's like, maybe we're not looking for a flaming bird. Maybe the phoenix is actually just walking around in cowboy boots. No duh.
I like every other monster you've ever faced. It's just a guy. Yeah.
It's a guy. is a guy that doesn't even have like red hair. I mean, I know that's like obvious, but like give him something.
Right?
Something. I don't know. Fine.
Not just fire touch. Dean then tells him that, you know, you have to go get the Colt because we know that the Colt's gonna kill the gun because it was in the journal, so you need to do that. But it's 20 miles away, so there's no way that Sam can get there in time because that would just take too long before getting there at noon the next day. And then they hear a horse, and he's like, ride him, cowboy. So they give somebody like one of the gold watches, and I was just thinking, like, is that not too modern? Like, I know they probably did have watches, but like, I don't know, just the design of it would be way too modern. But
like,
anyway.
yeah, but also I guess these people probably don't know what's being made in the city. Like, they don't. It's gold,
True.
right? So it's fine.
Yeah, gold and like some sort of jewels. I don't know if they're actual diamonds, but they could be diamonds. I don't know. Sam looks really uncomfortable around this horse. Like, he tries to get on one way and he can't do it, so Dean tells him to go the other way, and he sort of gets up on there and like, he's like, oh, this actually feels all right.
Watching Jared Padalecki pretend he doesn't know how to ride a horse, which I thought was really funny.
Know, right? It's like, you're a Texan boy, of course you know how to ride a horse.
They
like,
both do, right? Surely, yeah. I just found that really funny. I don't know why. There's like them pretending that they don't know anything about horses.
I feel like we've seen an episode with them on a horse already, though, as well. But I could be making that up.
I can't remember. You know they know how to ride a horse because, like, he knows enough to make it look like he's riding a horse badly.
Yeah, that's true. You're right about that. Sam's going to be back there at 11 a.m. the next day. And then he goes to ride off, and like Dean's watching, and he's like, "Oh, that poor horse!" Like, it's obviously a giant on a horse.
It's so funny because he's got his like feet out as well, and he's like leaning back on this horse. Like, I don't know why. It's really amusing to me. I thought this was so funny.
I'm not trying. We're somewhere else in the town, and we're watching the sheriff like start gathering things for the posse in the morning. And then you see Finch approach him, and he's like trying to apologize. And he says, "You had your chance, tell it to the judge." And like he burns up as well. He like grabs his neck, and like his face burns first, and then the rest of his body. Yeah. We then cut to modern times, and it's Cass and Rachel in a warehouse, and Rachel has summoned Cass to have a discussion about what's going on. She is saying that, you know, I've been hearing things. I just don't want to believe them. Tell me if it's true.
If what's true?
You know. Your dirty little secret.
Dean?
I love that Crowley is a dirty little secret.
But I don't know why I read this scene as like they know about his secret affair with like humans. They know he's been kissing Dean behind the bike shed. I don't know a dirty little secret, but yeah, you're right. Also with that, I guess the whole demon thing is probably a bit more important. But like that's immediately where my mind went to because I'm so stupid.
That's too funny. So, and Cass is like, well, you know, I have to defeat Raphael, and he says, not in this way. And she's like, well, we put our faith in you, and look what it's turning you into. And that, you know, he doesn't have a choice. And she says, neither do I. And they start to fight. She manages to stab Cass like in the ribs, wounding him pretty badly because like the fight seems to not be going his way after that. But eventually he manages to kill her, and she dies on the ground like with the wings at her back and all that kind of stuff. We haven't seen it in a very, very long time, but the way that angels have died before, and he apologizes to her.
I thought it was pretty cool. I quite like this.
It's very cool.
What's his dirty secret?
He then we're then in Bobby's house, and Cass just like appears on the floor like bleeding, And Bobby's like, oh my God, what do I do? And you see Cass like dipping his fingers in his wound and drawing a sigil on the fridge.
Yeah.
And he gets up.
Cass? Are we running or fighting?
Just like collapses into Bobby's arms. It then cuts back to in the past, in the saloon. And Dean like walks into the saloon in his new outfit. He's got like a big trench coat, a better hat, just general better outfit all the way around. And Elkins is just like, new hat. Dean's like, I look good. It's like, yeah, Dean, you do look good.
You do look good. Work it.
He asks where the posse is, and Elkins responds by saying, or you're the only greenhorn dumb enough to go chasing after a ghost. See, this is what I mean by this town is probably a town of hunters, but like ones that have given up, maybe? Because like...
Yeah, maybe.
They're all very accepting of like ghosts and just existing.
Yeah. I can see it, to be fair. Like, yeah, and then obviously they know about like Samuel Colt being a gun maker. Like, who does he make guns for, you know?
Exactly. And Dean's like, what are you talking about? You know, the sheriff's tough as nails. He'll be here. And then we hear like someone outside yelling that, oh my God, the sheriff's dead. It's like, oh, or not. They go outside the saloon, and like Elkins just bends down and like grabs the sheriff badge out of the ashes, wipes it off, and just like pins it on Dean. Is like, now congratulations, sheriff.
I mean, I think that is just how you become sheriff, right? The old sheriff dies and you just have the next person around who's like,
well,
okay.
It should be the deputy, but I guess the deputy's like jogged on.
Yeah.
Well, so, okay. When we get to the deputy's house, they clearly just used one of their like apartments that they use in every other like episode, and you can just tell it doesn't make sense because you can see the corridor in the background, and just like, I'm pretty sure that's not the layout of like houses back then.
No, you're so right, actually. It's just like a set that they kind of like dirtied up, but I mean, fine, I guess.
It just made me chuckle.
So we come back and we see Samuel Colt in his house. He's like at his desk drinking a lot. Two guys enter and ask who he is, and he just says, "You have the wrong drunk, gentlemen. Have a nice day." And he's like, "We're looking for Colt." And then they like flash demon eyes at him. He kind of warns him and says like, "Look, I've hung it up. I'm tired. I'm too old for this. I'm sure as hell not looking for trouble." And they know that he's built the Devil's Gate, and they want him to open it for them. And they're like, "If you fancy keeping your lungs in your chest."
Yeah.
He threatens, like says, like, just walk away. Like, he's very calm, Samuel Colt. He's been around the block a few times.
Yeah.
And while they're still threatening him, he pulls out the Colt and just shoots both of them. And he like, as he does so, he like, as they fall to the floor, his bottle of whiskey like drops onto the floor and breaks. And he just looks down and goes, "That's a damn shame." So then we cut back to the deputy's apartment. And he's packing his suitcase. Dean comes in and says, "Howdy, pilgrim." And he's just like, I ain't no pilgrim. Doesn't understand that reference, obviously. So Dean asks him to like move away from his gun and says like, "Is this any way to greet your new boss?" And like shows off his new badge.
Missed you at the posse this morning. I was a one-man wolf pack, thanks to you.
And kind of asks why he's packing up. So this deputy's leaving town. He thinks he was saying that he's going to go visit his sister. And obviously Dean is there because he's realized that the judge died, the sheriff died, and the other person there at the hanging was this dude. So he's the next one to go. So Dean's like, "Do you really think we can outrun him? He's going to kill you unless we gank him first." And the guy's just like, "Gank? What's gank?" Which I really enjoy. And Dean says, "I'm not asking you to throw down with him. I'm asking you to play your part." And he's like, "What?" He says, "Me." All right, John Winchester. So Sam arrives at Samuel's door. Why is so many people called Sam and Samuel in Supernatural?
I don't know. Because Sam was supposed to be the main character, so everybody who's related to him has to be named. I don't know.
Samuel.
I kind of wish that like they were related to Colt in some way. I think that would have been kind of cool. But at the same time, I'm glad that they're not.
No, I agree. Like, why don't the Campbells originate from Colt? Like, you know, like a long lineage of hunters. I think that would have been interesting. And it'd also explain why they have his diary.
True. Yeah.
You know?
Maybe they're cousins.
Maybe they do. Like, maybe that's the implication.
Mm.
You know, if it'd be in there. So, like, Samuel greets Sam by throwing holy water on him, and Sam's really offended by this. He's like, I'm not a demon, and like really shakes off and everything. And he doesn't sugarcoat. He's just like, I'm a hunter. My name's Sam Winchester. I'm from 2011, which I feel like he would say 2011 to someone from the past, but fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
Samuel Colt says, prove it, and Sam just hands him his phone. And this guy's like, okay, fine. When Sam is surprised, he's like, you know, when you've done this job as long as I have, a giant from the future with some magic brick doesn't exactly give you the vapors. And I thought, Sam probably, I mean, he's already pretty tall, but he probably is a giant in this time because everyone's like so malnourished that no one like grew to be that
very
tall.
true.
He's just like an actual gigantor.
I love that he, like, Samuel's the only person that makes that, like, reference.
Like, where's the like, ooh, what they feeding you?
Right.
You know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so Sam tells him that he wants to kill a phoenix, and Colt just says they exist. And Sam's like, well, you know, you shoot one in about 3 hours, and he hands his version of his version of Samuel Colt's journal to Samuel Colt and puts him on top of the one that he's like currently writing. And like, I feel like that should have caused some kind of paradox, the two objects touching when they both exist in the same space-time.
Yeah, I guess
fine.
So.
Like, you shouldn't touch yourself in the past because you end up like creating a paradox. That's a whole thing.
I mean, it makes sense. But then it was supposed to happen though.
That's how you end up.
Maybe there's a path.
Yeah, I know. This kind of stuff is how you end up being like your own granddad. Like, stop.
Yep. Exactly.
So Colt just says, I'm either too drunk or not drunk enough. So what is this about? Sam explains the whole situation and Colt doesn't care.
Yep.
At all. He just says he's retired and Sam's like, there's no such thing as retired. And he's like, well, I am. Sam tries to hold like, you're my hero card. And it kind of works, sort of.
Yeah.
But like, because he's sort of laughing at him rather than outright dismissing him. So again, Sam explains why they need to kill the phoenix, like they need his ashes. So like, he's like, come on, let's go. Or like, if you're not coming with me, I need the gun. And Colt's like, what gun? And Sam's like, the gun. Like, I know about it because I'm from the future. And he claims he lost it. There's this whole back and forth about like him not giving to them. Sam explains that he shot a couple of demons with it less than an hour ago, and then he does this whole like Sherlock Holmes bit where he's like,
2 pairs of boot prints. Cabin reeks of sulfur.
and that seems to impress Colt, and he just says, you don't want the gun, like it's a curse, believe me. And so I was like, okay, cool, so give it to me then.
There could have been so much more with this interaction. Just thinking back to season 2 and the implications of like what the cult does for Sam and like what that all leads up to and like causes. Yeah. Because like having the cult, he then meets all the other children of Azazel, which then they all kill each other, which then leads to Sam dying, which then leads to Dean selling his soul. And it's just like, I feel like there should have been more out of this. Or like...
You don't understand the full weight of it from this conversation, right? Of all the things that
exactly.
happened.
It's like, I feel like he could have said something like, I understand there's the curse. Like, I've been through the curse. Or, you know, Samuel's talking about how... Colt is talking about how he's retired and, like, he's out of the life and all this kind of stuff. But, like, again, we don't really get an explanation of what that looks like.
And this bit kind of annoyed me as well because, like, we keep going back and forth, and he says to Sam, like, put a few more miles on and come back, and then we'll talk. Sam kind of, referring to his time in hell, says, I've got plenty of mileage, and explains again that he's done. And Sam just ends this with, so everything you did, it all means nothing. Give me the gun. And, like, but we don't ever get an explanation as to, like, how he got this gun. Did he beat up Samuel Colt, or did he explain to him about trying to shoot Lucifer with it? Like, what did he do to get the gun? About why it was important, etc. Like, I just wish I knew. I don't know why. It feels like there's a scene missing from this episode.
It does, yeah. And there is a deleted scene, which again we'll go through in our like wrap up episode. We won't do it in this one, but like I don't know what the deleted scene is about, but I think that's the problem with this entire episode and why it feels so short. Everything is so easy.
It is, yeah.
Like the Phoenix is so easy to find. Convincing Colt after saying you can't have it because it's a curse is so easy to change. Like, I don't know. And then it just like the ending of this episode, I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, right. Like, I for some reason thought this was how they got the Colt back as well, but that's not the case. So
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Why is this not explained how he actually got it? Like, there should have been some little like nugget of how he did it. Like, just in the passing conversation or something. If you're going to make it a mystery, like, you at least have to solve it.
Exactly.
Anyway, so we go back to Bobby's house, and it's shown that there's only an hour left. Cass actually, like, sits up, and he's like... Bobby says, Cass, you look like you went 12 rounds with Truckosaurus. What happened? I really enjoyed that. I don't know why. I love a Truckosaurus. Yeah. And he makes up this lie that also apparently I believed.
I was betrayed. Rachel, Raphael. He corrupted her. She turned on me.
Bobby buys it, and he goes on to say, like, she's dead and I was wounded and I needed safety, so thank you. And then he gets up to try and leave, and Bobby kind of stops him and asks what the sigil was he was painting, and Cass explains it's warding against angels, and then Bobby asks how bad Cass is hurt, and he just says, I'll heal. He's like, okay, cool, but like in less than an hour, because you've got to go pick up the kids at Frontierland. I love that. I don't know why. There's some really good lines in this episode. And Cass is like, well, I can't because the fight was too bad. And Bobby's okay, like, call someone else then. And Cass is like, I can't because, everyone's fighting against me or whatever. That's the implication anyway. Bobby asks if there a way they can like speed up the healing, and Cass just says there is, but it's extremely dangerous. And Bobby says, of course it is, because like and I can't watch this now without seeing the gag reel, like this scene, because Cass is like, it's your soul. And Bobby's like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, make another deal, seal it with a kiss? And Cass just says, like, real deadpan, like, I need you to let me touch it. And like in the gag reel, they go back and forth with Bobby going, touch it, and then Cass saying, touch it.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
okay, touch it. Yeah.
See, the one that
every time.
one that plays in my mind is when Dean does like the shoulder shimmy when they're in town, when they first get to town.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so it's all I can see with this whole thing. I always expected it to happen because I've seen it so many times. Yeah, so Cass explains that basically, like, it's pure energy. So if he can take just like a tiny bit, then he can borrow some power to go get Sam and Dean. He's like, I have to do it very gingerly. But he's like, or Cass says, or you'll explode. And Bobby just says, keep both hands on the wheel. Let's do this.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, what else are they going to do? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it was,
they can't leave them in the past.
I mean, it was always going to work, obviously, because, like, they have to, but...
I feel like they could have at least called Balthazar. Like, would he not have gone together? He kind of hates them, to be fair, but, like, for Cass...
he would do it, for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
Right, and we don't know about Grace. Oh, no, we do know about Grace because Anna was trying to find hers. But we don't know the extent of, like, how Grace works with angels yet, because that's, like, what, season 9? 8? 9?
I feel like Cass getting hurt in this way was the first time we saw, like, Grace kind of leaking out of him in that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. But is that his grace? Well, yeah, I guess it is his grace. I was going to say, is it his grace or, like, the power that he's absorbed at this so far this time?
Good question.
I don't know.
Yeah. Because he's doing stuff that, like, he shouldn't be able to do. I feel like this going back in time stuff is not actually within his, like, normal power range. That's why he can't ask another angel to do it, because they're not as juiced as he is.
Yeah. I mean, when they went back in time the second time after Anna, you saw how, like, messed up he was, sending both of them back. Like, that was the thing that, like, caused it to happen so badly, is for both of them. But, like, this one, he was fine.
Yeah, and they didn't question that, which is that's super weird. So yeah.
They didn't question that it would drain him, but Bobby wouldn't know because he wasn't really there for that either.
That's true.
But I don't know.
Yeah. But they don't. That's it about them not caring about Cass, because they're like, won't this take you out of commission for a few days or whatever? Like doing this, they don't care. They don't ask.
That's very true.
Bad friends.
But then they also just did have Balthazar go back and forth for no reason. Oh, in their mind, they don't know the real reason. But,
that's so true.
Balthazar could just. But I guess it's easier for because it's not easier for an angel, because Anna was drained too.
Yeah. So maybe they're just taking Balthazar at his word that, like, because there's no rules now, maybe it's just like easier. Or maybe it's just inconsistent writing.
Or it's because Cass is juiced up and he can do that.
maybe Cass sent Balthazar back in time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. I did. I was just clarifying. I got it. Yeah, you're right. Okay, cool.
Maybe he whammied him.
Yeah. Yes, no, I think you're right. Yeah, it will become clear soon.
Yeah,
We're getting there.
We got one more episode in between.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is. I kind of hate that this is a plot episode, by the way.
You have to
watch it, otherwise the next one's not going to make sense.
Yeah, you have to watch the cowboy episode. Oh, sorry, we don't make the rules around here.
I mean, God's gone. They burned the pages, so there are no rules.
And yet he's still writing his cowboy fan fiction,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah.
So they're in the jail. So Dean and the deputy, and the deputy's been locked up, and he's like, "So this is your big plan? Like, just let me rot in here until Finch comes." And he's like, "Yep, pretty much." And he's like, "So why is he coming after you anyway?" And the deputy sort of brushes it off and be like, "Well, it's because we hung him, like we killed him." He's like, "No, I'm guessing, there's something else. He would have just left. He wouldn't have come back. This seems personal." The deputy tries to negotiate and be like, "Well, I'll tell you, but you have to let me out." And he's like, "No can do." Then Finch enters and tells Dean to open up the cell. And Dean's like, "Well, open it yourself. You melt people's faces off. I bet you can do, just do that easy." And while he's doing this, he's like messing with an iron nail. Then he throws it to Finch and it burns him. And Dean's like, "Ah, right, I see." But so in the beginning, when he's being hung, he has iron shackles on, like he says. But they're not burning him. They're just like on him. Like,
again, like the lore, it's not consistent.
Maybe it's no, because it was on his anyway. Whatever, it's fine. Because when it was showing his wrist, I was like, is he going to try to escape? Like, what? Why are we seeing his wrists like before he got hung? Dean then says,
Iron shackles, iron bars, iron nail. See a pattern? Don't worry, most creatures I meet can't get it up for iron. It's a common monster problem.
So then Finch says, "So you're a hunter?" But Colt was confused by the term hunter when Sam said it.
No one says, yeah. Maybe that's not what he called. Maybe we're wrong about him knowing about other hunters. That might not be what he calls himself, and very much lives in like isolation. but monsters would be aware of hunters because they've always kind of existed, and so have the men of letters, right? So they would know the term because they're the ones being actively hunted.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably right about that. And then Dean says / sheriff. And then we get like a lore dump of Finch, and it's pretty tragic.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty justified actually in murdering these dudes.
100%. Because he and his wife were happily married. She was human. He went into town, left her alone for a few minutes, and then got like cornered by the deputy because obviously, men in this time couldn't control themselves. Eye roll. And he'd like taken her to a back alley, and the deputy shot him and then his wife, and she died. And because he didn't die, the sheriff comes over and like puts him in irons, and he couldn't do anything because he's powerless against iron. And then he got hung. Dean then turns to the deputy and says, "Is that true?" And the deputy like makes a face like, "Yeah, it is true. Like he can't deny it."
Yeah.
Finch asks,
"Are you really willing to die to protect this piece of filth?"
I love that. I don't know, calling somebody a piece of filth. It might have to go in my repertoire. And Dean's like, I could care less about this guy. He's a dick and a coward. But it isn't about him. It's about you. And he's like, yeah, I've got to kill you. He says, well, if you know what I am, then you know that you can't. And he like grabs a gun that's on a holster, like hung up, and just shoots the deputy. And I was like, like, what's the song by Bob Marley?
I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy.
Well, it was the other way around in this one.
That was so bad. I'm so sorry.
And Dean's like, wow, I should have seen that coming. Before he like makes an escape, like jumps through a window, like there's a little chase all around. And so Dean is hiding, and somehow Sam finds him. Sure.
They got that brother telekinesis, psychic connection that they just know where each other are at all times.
Yeah. Dean's asking where Colt is, and he says he's not coming, but he has the gun. And he's like, oh.
Yeah, okay. How?
Yeah, how?
Yeah.
It's then Bobby's house, and you see the timer, and it says it's got 2 minutes left. And Cass is like, are you sure you want to do this? And he's like, Bobby's just like,
well, we can't just strand those idiots in Deadwood, can we?
He starts the soul touching.
I don't know why I think it's so funny that Cass rolls up his sleeves, because I feel like he doesn't need to.
Maybe it's just because like fabric is getting in the way of fabric. I don't know.
But like he's turning his, I don't know, like it just feels like he would also turn his suit into light or whatever as well. I don't know, it just feels like a part of him. So it feels weird that he would roll up his sleeves. I don't know why.
But he does it every time. So at least that's consistent. I'll give him that.
Okay, fine. Yeah, okay.
Because when he went to touch Soul Sam, once he got it back, he was, pulling his sleeve down.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
It's always done.
Yeah.
So Dean initiates a showdown, like we saw at the beginning of the episode. Is pretty much shot for shot exactly the same.
Yeah.
And all this is happening. Cass puts his arm inside of Bobby to get the energy. As the timer is like clicking down, it then strikes midday, and they shoot each other. Finch misses. Yep. Dean hits Finch, and it kills him.
Yeah.
And he bursts into flames as he's like, oh my god, this is what fire feels like. That's the way I was reading it.
Yeah. That was like, yeah. It was pretty horrendous, actually.
Yeah, it kind of was, because like from the inside out, it was pretty bad. And Dean's like, yippee-ki-yay, mother, from... Actually, no. So I think yippee-ki-yay is actually from a Western, which was then used in Die Hard. I think that's the way it goes.
Fine. Well, I mean, that makes sense. But like also... I don't know what movie that is that he's referencing in Die Hard, so fine.
I think the mother effer is added on in Die Hard.
It's the Die Hard
but
one. But
yippee-ki-yay is actually from a Western, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
No.
And this is really cool because the way that like the light and everything on Cass is like going up his face, and then he opens his eyes and they're all like lighty. It's very cool.
Yeah.
And because they were faffing around, they don't go to get the ashes. And as they're hearing the clock tick, like they're like, oh, the ashes. And Dean and Sam are running towards them as Dean gets on his knees to scoop up the ashes into this like empty bottle. They appear in Bobby's living room with an empty bottle and like disheartened. And I'm just like, well, yeah, that's what you get for messing about. Like, you wanted to be a cowboy so badly that you messed up the plan.
His cowboy cosplay got in the way of the plan. And like, even Sam was like, what are you doing, when they started this like standoff? But to be fair, like, also, where was Sam? Where was Sam in this? Was he just letting Dean play out his cowboy fantasy? Where he was just
he's like, if I don't let him do this,
what?
he's going to bug me about it for the rest of my life. So let me just do it. Like,
he chose peace. Yeah. Also, I feel like gloating over this Phoenix's death is kind of like not cool. The guy kind of was justified in murdering those guys.
Yeah.
And like, you're basically killing him for his body, so you could use his burnt up body to smoke another monster.
I mean,
like,
he was. I mean, we always knew that Dean doesn't really care too much for monsters anyway, so that was never going to be an issue for him. And he did kind of somewhat apologize that, like, I
guess
he empathized with him, but like he still has to do it for like his future's sake. But then like. And of course he's going to gloat because he just won a standoff.
True. It's like his absolute, like, the dream of his life, you know, a wish fulfilled. Fine. And he gets to keep the cool coat. Why do we never see that again?
Because he kept it nicely, like, folded somewhere. Like, that is in a room in the bunker, like, hung up so he can look at it whenever he wants.
Yeah. Which begs the question, why didn't he wear that cowboy hat when they actually went to wherever it was, Deadwood, in the cowboy episode with Cass? That cowboy episode.
Yeah, good question.
Take your cowboy hat, Dean.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
you have an authentic cowboy hat.
It's vintage, isn't it? So, or more than vintage. I don't even know what that would be. It's antique. Yeah, it's an antique. So
that's true. He was going for a more modern cowboy look in the other episode. He looked at him and was like, no, it's not sleek enough. The lines, they're not right. Anyway. So, yes. Dean's freaking out in Bobby's living room, saying, like, you got to send us back. And Sam just says, look at him like he's fried. And Castiel just says,
I never want to do that again.
Bobby's okay. He says, I'm still kicking, Annie Oakley.
Be back good as new. A decade or two.
Dean apologizes because he knows this is his fault for playing silly cowboy games. But then they're all interrupted by a knock at the door. And there's some kind of delivery guy there. And just says, is Sam Winchester here? And because Sam luckily has answered the door. And he's like, yeah, he's asking. And he's like, look, a couple of guys made a bet. So like, this thing's been lying around the office since ever with a note to bring it here today. It's from a Samuel Colt. I like this poor guy. Sam's just like, yeah, that's for me. And
I know, he doesn't even sign the paper that he
needs
needs to sign for it. Anyway.
They're always going to be wondering for the rest of their lives what was in that box. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. So Sam takes the box in and opens it. And it has a note that says, Dear Sam, I got this address and date off your thingy-majig. Which is good he didn't password it, I guess.
And I thought the enclosed might come in handy. Regards, Samuel Colt.
And in it is a bottle exactly like the bottle that they were using, full of black ash. So Bobby's like, oh, and Dean's like, oh. And Bobby says, at least I didn't get a solonoscopy for nothing. And Dean says, yes, and it means we can take the fight to her. Yeah. That's the end of episode.
So, okay. Is Bobby's house listed as home in Sam's phone?
Aww. Yeah.
Yeah.
It must be.
Because how else will you know to send it to this address?
That's such a nice thought. Yeah, it is. You know, yeah, I love that. Or, you know, Sam's just put it as mailing address.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It could be much less
But
sentimental.
that's not as nice. Yeah, exactly. No, I love that. Yeah, home. That's good. I like it. Aww.
Because that was also, to bring it also really sad, that's where that's where Dean was going to be sending like his most prized possessions as well before he was going to go.
Yeah. Because they could just keep like a PO box, right? But they don't. They choose to send everything to Bobby's house. And I can't love that.
What happens to Bobby's house? Does it just go to waste or is it destroyed?
It doesn't explode, does it? I feel like it's set on fire, but I don't know if I'm just imagining that.
Maybe it is destroyed. But that means but then I guess because they have the bunker, basically all the resources are there. So
that would make me sad. That would make me sad if it burns down. I hope that's not the case. I hope it's just something I read in like some fanfic or something. No one correct me. I can live the rest of my time until we get to that episode thinking that it doesn't burn down or explode or whatever happens.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the episode. We needed more explanations and less shenanigans.
I do appreciate the shenanigans. I would have liked to have seen this episode written by Ben Edlund. I don't know. I just feel like it would have been even better.
I think so too.
I'm so sorry, Andrew Dabb and Daniel Laughlin, but
yeah.
I feel like we could have fit more movie references in there. I mean, there probably were loads I didn't catch, but like ones I would have caught. They could have made a reference to the Star Trek Cowboy episode because that is the original series cast that do the Cowboy episode where like it's so dumb. It's such a stupid episode. I'm pretty sure Futurama or The Simpsons has parodied that episode of Star Trek.
Both of them have, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like, the bullets can't hit us because we believe they're not real.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add to this. I don't know.
It was just what it is.
It's such a straightforward episode, but there's things that, like you said, that were missed in it.
I feel like the cowboy bit is all just like, it's all for laughs and it's all for like watching them dress up and be silly, which is fine. That's not a problem with this episode. I actually really enjoy that.
Me too. Yeah.
That kind of stuff is what I miss from like television these days, to be honest, these silly episodes. The important bits were the confrontation between Rachel and Cass, because like we've had a couple of episodes now where we've had Cass lying or being evasive and like them kind of hinting that something else is going on. So they are kind of building to that now, which is interesting. And then we know that kind of like the Eve storyline, I think, is wrapping up kind of next episode-ish. So then what's going to happen for the last like 3 episodes? So yeah, I'm excited, but like this doesn't feel like it's nearly the end of the season. We feel like we're mid-season.
I know, it's so wild that we're like here, you know?
Yeah. Nearly at the end of season 6, and like, but this feels like this could have been like episode 4 maybe if they just hurried everything along a little bit, which I think is missing from this season. I think it's just there's a lack of urgency for anything. Yeah.
So okay, in a different universe, this is the last season of Supernatural.
Yes.
How do you feel about this? How it ends? I hate how if season 6 was the last season, that would be the worst.
I'd be so mad. I don't know if I'd be more. No, I would be more mad. But then I feel like I would have just been like, oh, it was a shame it was cancelled and we never found out what happened. Like with every other show I watch.
That's true. And also, I guess that's the reason why they wrote it this way. Because at some point they can... I think that's the problem, is that they are now writing for the next season. So
I think that's the problem with Supernatural generally, is like they build up half the season, they find out that they're getting renewed and we're like, oh crap, now we have to like actually write a plot. It sounds really bad, but that's how television's always kind of worked. Like, I'm sure if we go back and watch, I mean, I'm literally, like I said, I think last episode, I'm watching the X-Files at the minute, and there's like nothing going on. Last episode of the season is like aliens, you know, like the main thing that X-Files does. Whereas like the previous episode I just watched was about chickens. Like, if you think Supernatural is bad, you should go watch X-Files. It was about cannibals and chickens.
Of course.
Everyone, if you've ever watched X-Files, everyone knows that episode I'm talking about. But yeah, so I think that's the problem with like network television, and probably why now we get these like self-contained series, which I feel like makes it more frustrating when like Netflix or whatever cancels stuff that people know that was going to be like a 5-season arc, right? Because you're like, but they wrote it, and I'm sure they pitched it to you as 5 seasons, so just let them do the 5 freaking seasons.
Exactly.
Because you already cut down the episodes by so much. We used to get like 20 odd episodes, and now we get like 6, maybe 10 if we're lucky.
Yep.
Like, I just feel like just do the season.
Exactly. And like, don't accept every single thing that comes across your desk.
Yeah, exactly. As well, some of it is actual trash. I've watched some real bad stuff recently. I find it so frustrating because you don't know as well which of your seasons that you're cancelling could have been like cult hits like Supernatural or like Buffy or like Stargate or whatever. Do you know, things like that? Star Trek got cancelled after 2 seasons, and think how much money that's made now.
Right? Through like,
this is how we should be pitching stuff to Netflix executives. Like, look, think how much more money you could have made if you let Star Trek run for 3 more seasons.
Exactly. Like, look at all the merchandise that they've sold. Look at like all the licensed stuff that they have across. I mean, we're talking.
We'll make T-shirts.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about the Hallmark Christmas ornaments last time. Like,
right,
that wouldn't exist.
I mean, Star Trek must be like $1 billion industry.
Surely.
With the merch and the like everything. Surely. The conventions, like, I mean, I'm sure that the actors are seeing none of that.
Oh, of course not.
But like, you know, yeah, whoever owns the license, I think it's Paramount, I think.
Okay.
I think at the moment Star Trek, or is it CBS? It might be CBS, I'm not sure.
Which is probably owned by somebody else. So.
Right, it's all owned ultimately by one person.
Yep. Yep.
Anyway, tin hatting on network stuff. But this is what I mean, like, so this is why you get this kind of stuff with network television, and I don't mind it. That's why I was kind of glad when they announced that season 15 was going to be the final season, because I was like, oh, we get to see the end. Like, we get to see what happens when they actually end one of these shows.
Yep.
Yep.
And then
we're here.
Yep. We are here. What, 4 years later?
To be fair, I don't think I've ever had a satisfying ending to anything. Deep Space Nine, I felt, was quite unsatisfying, but like in its own way, it kind of also was satisfying. Like it was just a bit mediocre, which is okay. It's hard to end something like that. Voyager, also strange. Actually, I quite like the ending of Voyager. I'm going to go with Voyager as fine. And I think Buffy was okay.
Buffy was really good. The thing that actually got under my skin was them trying to continue it on in a comic book. I was like,
Buffy ended like it ended, like just leave it there. It was fine.
We didn't need to
nothing
know.
else is canon.
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't feel like I needed to know like what happened to them after this.
No.
So,
and like I didn't feel like I was entitled to know because they stopped doing what they were doing.
Right.
It was like with Supernatural, right? If they'd had like the whole point is that their whole lives are like voyeurism. There's someone watching them, like God is watching them. It's for his own like pleasure or whatever that he is making them act out all these scenarios. Right. So the ending would have been that they get to be happy and they get to stop being watched. Yep. Right? Like flipping the Truman Show.
Right, yeah.
Where like once he walks out that door, you don't know what happens to him. And that's a really satisfying ending.
Yeah. He got to claim his life.
Anyway. Yeah. And like that's what Supernatural is. It's kind of like weird Supernatural Truman Show. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know, I'm getting deep with this. But like, yeah, that's why this season feels weird. Because I really don't think they knew they were going to be picked up again. And I felt like once they get to sort of season 9, season 10, they relax a little bit about it.
Yeah.
For good or for bad. Because, yeah, if you think about the finales and how quickly they ramp up for each season.
Yeah.
And I think by the time you get to season 15, they kind of didn't know how else to write it, because it still happens in season 15. You get like a slow start where they're kind of not sure where they're building to. And then you get kind of a weird bit in the middle. And then it all kind of rushes at the end. And you're like, but why though? You could have paced this season so you knew it was the last one.
Yep. And you had like, you knew how many episodes you were booked for. Like, you literally.
Okay, fine, COVID happened.
Yeah, but like that was not for. That was what, like 5 episodes of the 15?
It was 2. It was the last 2.
It was only the last 2. Okay, well then, like,
it was only the last 2.
That doesn't explain the rest of the season.
Right. It doesn't explain Baba Yaga. It doesn't explain it. That was written before COVID and shot before COVID. Like, it doesn't explain it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there could have been so much more in some of this. It's only the last. I didn't know you didn't know that. It's only the last 2. That's kind of why they feel so empty, because they weren't able to get some of the actors to come back because of like COVID restrictions. But I still feel like they should have just waited. Like, would it have really been that bad? Like, could they have not done that? Was it really again outside the realm of possibility? They could have just waited and said, like, look, you got to wait for these final 2 episodes. Think of the build up that could have been. We already had to wait for them. People were speculating like crazy because it was like so much had happened.
And then you were only going to disappoint everybody because it was Despair, right? The last one, because that's 18.
No, because I think, if I remember correctly, and people are going to correct me on this, I think they stopped airing them because they knew that they only had like this many, and they had to wait to film the last 2 because they had to completely shut down. So they stopped airing, which means we had to wait. Because if you remember right,
which I don't, by the way,
because obviously Despair, like 15, 18, like that was watched on the day of the US election in 2020.
Oh, that's right.
Because it was trending with like Putin.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's how that went down. So we'd waited for ages, knowing that the last 2 episodes were filmed during COVID restrictions. So we knew they might be a bit weird. And then obviously they dropped like Despair on us. We're like, this feels fine. Okay, this is okay. Like, but what are the next 2 episodes going to be? Because they did did they do like a double feature of them? Is that right? No, we had to wait.
No.
We had to wait a week. Yeah, we definitely had to wait a week. God, that whole time of my life is such a blur.
I mean, that's why I'm getting all the facts wrong. That's so.
It was like, it was such a time. I don't think I'll ever live through.
I'm glad. I'm honestly glad that I know I have to live through it again.
Honestly glad. November 2020 was wild.
Yeah.
It's still in my mind. I'm like, this is, I don't know. I can't think of anything to compare it to. So that's why I went down. And like, I don't know why we started talking about this, but that's where we got to. I can't trace the conversation back now.
So we were talking about the pacing of the seasons overall.
Yes.
And how they knew, they knew that this was the end, like season 15 was the end.
Yeah. So, I mean, talking about pacing then, what is the next episode of this season that we're doing?
The next episode is Mommy Dearest.
I remember. Why do I remember this episode? Like, maybe just the name. I mean, obviously it's a movie, Mommy Dearest. But... Oh, of course, it's the whole Eve thing. This is the Jefferson Starships episode. I've only ever watched this one once, but I just remember it for some reason.
I do not. I will tell you that. There's
a diner. Okay, I say I remember it. All I remember is there's a diner. I think a lot happens next episode. I think it's extremely plotty. It's all mostly exposition, but things happen. There are like cameos. There are people appearing. It's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And I think it's probably the conclusion of the monster bit.
Yeah, it is. And then we go on to the B / really the A plot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the angel bit.
The secret A plot. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything else to say about this Western episode. I enjoyed it. It's worth a rewatch just to see Dean's happy little face and his little cowboy outfit.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. So at the end of the episode, we'd like to thank the Pixel Agora for his amazing logo art. And if you'd like to get it on a piece of merchandise. You can go to our Redbubble store and purchase it there. We're also all over social media, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, some other places. Just search for Escaping Purgatory Podcast. And on Twitter, it's just Escaping Podcast. So yeah, come tell us, come correct me on all the things I got wrong, because I get things wrong all the time.
It's fine. I mean. So this week, we pulled up our cowboy boots, we tipped our hats, and we rode our horses into the sunset. So hopefully next week, we can find our way out.
Bye. That's a good one.
Thanks.